Good afternoon, dear colleagues, members of the public and candidates. The advisory group of experts met today to conduct an interview with a candidate for the position of a judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, Madam Nataliia Vasilyevna Kaminska. Madam Kaminska serves as professor at the International Law and Comparative Legal Studies Department of the Faculty of International Relations at the National Aviation University and has been allowed to participate to the competitive selection by the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. The interview will be moderated by Secretary of the Advisory Group of Experts, Mr. Yaroslav Romaniuk, and that's why I'm passing the floor to him. Please, Mr. Romaniuk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Natalia Vasilyevna. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, members of the public who are watching the broadcast live of the interview. So, for the interview, we have here the full composition of the advisory group of experts. Mr. Chairman Ales Zalar will be online, and offline we have Ms. Hanna Sukhotska, Ms. Maureen O'Connor, Ms. Natalia Kuznetsova, and Ms. Oksana Vasilchenko. Alternate AG members are also in attendance, namely Thomas Griffith, Richard Barrett, Marat Zubik, Vasil Shakun, Volodymyr Kuzmenko, and me, AGE Secretary Yaroslav Romaniuk. Ms. Natalia Vasilyevna, we have had time and we have collected information about your candidacy according and regarding good moral character possessed by the candidate for the position of a judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. There are positive information about you, but still we are here to relieve any doubts regarding your moral character and integrity, and that's why the purpose of this interview is to provide you with the possibility and opportunity to debunk and clarify any doubts. Also, please take into consideration that the candidate may not provide information, documents, and other materials during the interview if the advisory group requested their provision earlier and the candidate did not provide them within the specified period, or if the candidate could provide them on their own initiative earlier. However, the advisory group may make an exception if it determines that such an exception is justified. I also would like to inform you that the interview is being recorded and streamed live on the AGE resources as well as the website of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Therefore, I call upon the AGE members and the candidate to limit the use of sensitive data and limited access information on live air. If there is a need to discuss such a type of information, we will switch off the streaming and will discuss it only in this room. As for timeline, the duration of the interview is approximately 1 hour. Please be concise in your answers and mind the fact that the time limit for responding to a question is up to 3 minutes. The international experts of the advisory group of experts are English-speaking. They do not speak Ukrainian, so please use the headset if needed for simultaneous translation into Ukrainian. Take into account that blue light on your headset means that Ukrainian channel is on, so please use if needed. At the end of the interview, you are given an opportunity for a short closing statement up to 5 minutes. And now we're ready to start the interview. The rapporteurs are the head of the chairman of the AGE, Mr. Ales Zalar, and Ms. Natalia Kuznetsova. I pass the floor to the reporters to start the interview. I will start with your permission. Dear Natalia Vasilievna, in the declaration for 2022, you indicated that on the 18th December 2007 you acquired the right of ownership to an apartment with a total area of 44.4 square meters in Kiev at the address Hetmana Pavla Polubodka Street 28. So, a couple of questions about this asset. The first one. What were the grounds for acquiring the right of ownership to the apartment? Thank you, Natalia Semenievna, for your question. This apartment was bought in 2007 in December, and there was mortgage agreement for it. Thank you. The next question. What was the price of the apartment under the purchase and sale agreement? Well, you see, in the declaration I stated, Miss Natalia, you said that the grounds was purchase and sale agreement. What was the price under the purchase and sale agreement? Please state it. If I'm not mistaken, it was 479,000 hryvnias. At exchange rate, well, we're not talking about the exchange rate. You stated this is official agreement, notarized, so there was the price in hryvnias, I believe. So why are we talking about the exchange rate? This is 479,750 hryvnias. Thank you. Please explain why you put the mark unknown in the declaration regarding the value of the aforementioned apartment. On your permission, I will explain. As it was bought for a loan and there was restructurization of debt, that's why it is difficult to count the overall value of the aforementioned apartment. I do not take away the responsibility from myself. I should have mentioned this sum 479,750 hryvnias, but there were some controversial questions. Thank you. You explained it. What is the origin of funds for the purchase of this apartment? So where did you take the funds for this purchase? Thank you. Esteemed experts, I presented you the explanation that the first installment was $20,000. These were funds of my husband and father-in-law. So these were the funds provided by the ex-husband and father-in-law and yours. Partially, yes, but more by ex-husband and father-in-law. Okay, what proportion of these funds belonged to all the participants? I mean to you, your ex-husband. So how you distributed these funds? Mostly these were funds of the father-in-law. And your husband, did he take part in it? Yes. Did these were his savings? Or these were your joint savings? I think these were his own ownership, his own funds. Did you have any savings of your own as of the day of acquiring the ownership right to the apartment? How much? Yes, I had. I cannot nominate the precise sum because it was quite long ago. But I had deposit accounts and my father-in-law offered to help. In your written responses to the request of the advisory group of experts, you indicated that your ex-husband, Andrei Ivanovich Kaminsky, and your father-in-law, Ivan Karpovich Kaminsky, made all the required payments under the loan agreement for several years. How much did Andrei Kaminsky and Ivan Kaminsky pay? And what joint marital funds were used to pay off the loan? Because you said that there was part that you didn't have in your possession and it was paid by the loan. So what was the distribution for paying off? So remarkable significant sum. Dominant, this was a loan. And my ex-father-in-law generally helped us to pay off because I had a newborn baby. Mr. Natalia Vasilievna, the reasons can be different. Please tell us the sums, because we are talking about the origin of funds. So how much funds did your ex-husband and ex-father-in-law pay, and where there were any joint marital funds? Well, unless my father-in-law had possibility, he paid it. Okay, I can't hear the precise sum, and I cannot nominate you the precise sum. Okay, and approximately 2/3, 1/2. It was more or less $1,000 each month. This is for body of the loan and interest. Okay, you reported that in 2015 you repaid the loan early. My question is the following. What amount did you personally contribute to repay the loan for the apartment, and what was the origin of these funds? Thank you. I will explain. My marriage has been stopped in 2010, and during the year 2010-2015 my parents helped me when my father was alive. Miss Natalia Vasilievna, please answer the question. How much did you personally contribute? Yes, my personal funds were here up to $10,000. What are the origin of these funds? Because you said you have a newborn baby. Yes, I have a kid, but I was not on maternity leave. I worked constantly and I had a couple of jobs. And my salary, my remuneration was these funds and also my savings. Okay, you mentioned your salary, your remuneration. Where you worked? What were your job positions? I worked in the National Academy of the Internal Affairs. It was main employment place. At first, it was Kiev Juridic University of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Then it was the Institute of the Internal Affairs. Then it was reorganized at the Academy. I was lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor then, and also I worked in some other educational establishment about which I informed the AGE. I worked as a professor. Is there any information about the size of your remuneration? Because when we talk about the origin of funds, we indicate that I obtained this sum from this source, that sum from that source, etc. And this is like generally overall sum up to $10,000 that you paid off the loan. I wasn't asked about this information. Well, you see, there was a question about the origin of these funds. Well, official sources, you mentioned official sources, so we understand whether they are enough, not enough. You see, the task of today's and the goal of today's interview is to clarify our doubts. And this property was doubtful to us because there were different payment sources. The sum and the value of this object wasn't indicated. Different people participated in the paying off, different periods. You changed your family status. That's why we had these doubts, and we wanted to know how much you paid for it and whether you had enough funds based on your sources of funds. Thank you, and I'm sorry that I have had to explain it. Okay, let's pass to the second question. In the declaration for 2022, you declared the right for free use of an apartment with a total area of 72.1 square meters at the address Metropolitan Andrea Sheptitsko Street in Kiev, which your mother, Vera Vasilyevna Pronyuk, purchased on the 20th of September 2021. My first question in this regard is: where did your mother reside before 2021, and did her place of residence change after 2021, so after the purchase of this apartment? Before the year 2021, my mom worked up to 2019. Should I state where she worked? She lived in the city Stry in the Lviv region. And after purchase, it was up to 2019. After she had a period, Miss Natalia, there is juridical, legal fact. Purchase of an apartment in Kiev at Metropolitan Andrea Sheptitsko Street. 2021. Before 2021, where did your mother reside? And at the moment of purchase? Before that, 2019 in the city of Stry, and then up to the purchase of the apartment, she lived partially with us in Kiev. What was the constant residing place? Up 2021 in the city of Stry. After the year 2021, when she purchased this asset in Kiev, where did she live? As her health state deteriorated, most of the 2022 she lived with us. We talk from the 20th of September 2021, when there was the fact of purchase of the apartment. So we are taking the dates that are references for the acquisition of right of ownership on this asset. So before she lived in the city of Stry, and after it, when she became the owner of the apartment, where did she live? Partially she lived in Stry, partially in Kiev, at the address Metropolitan Andrea Sheptitsko, and she is registered also in other address Kiev, because she passes different medical treatment in Kiev very often. You see that she has another object. And where is her registration? This is the Polobotka Street. So where you lived, so she lived with you. And this Andrea Sheptitskoho apartment, who lived there since 2021? You mean from 2021? Yes. 2 months after the purchase, I moved together with my daughter to this apartment, and then my mom also lived there, and since 2022 she lived in this. You put the mark unknown in the declaration regarding the value of the aforementioned apartment. Please explain what actions you do perform to obtain the information regarding the value of this apartment in order to provide complete and accurate information in your property declaration as required by anti-corruption legislation.
The apartment was bought by my mother on the basis of the sale and purchase agreement, and at the moment of the sale and purchase, I didn't learn from my mother the specific sum of the apartment. That's why I put unknown. Miss Natalia, who is your mother? Where is she employed? She is a pensioner. She's retired. In your opinion, can we have a reasonable doubt as to the information you're explaining, taking into account that your mother is retired, she lives in Stry, she buys an apartment in Kiev, she has a daughter who is a lawyer and a professor with an experience, etc., and she doesn't inform her. Even when she has to fill in the declaration, she doesn't know the value of this apartment. Don't you think we can have reasonable doubts here? I understood your question. I would like to explain. So, my mother, I will try to be more concise here. My mother bought an apartment. When she retired, she got a big sum of reimbursement, and she also received compensation for the bad order of payments. So, but I also received some money, and my mother asked me not to disclose this information. Did you ask her about it? Did you explain to her that you needed it to perform the activities that are related to your future? And why is she negative about disclosing this information? It's a purchase and sale agreement. It's not confidential information. Weren't you surprised by the fact that your mother didn't tell you the sum? Actually, my mom said, don't worry, this apartment will go to you as a present. She didn't want to disclose the value of this apartment. It's her right. I see. You were a party to the gift deed made by your mother in your favor. The deed was executed on the 16th of February 2023. Did the notary ask your mother to provide evidence of her ownership right to the apartment? Where is this document now? For the notary to certify the donation agreement, they have to be sure that the person given this apartment is a rightful owner, and the notary had to confirm the right of ownership. Otherwise, you couldn't become a party to this agreement. Can I explain? Yes. Where is this document now? As far as I understand, it was the same notary who certified the purchase and sale agreement and the donation agreement. So it is in the archive of this notary. Why didn't you reach out to the notary to receive information about the sale and purchase agreement? You became an owner of this apartment. Did you contact the notary? You mean to learn the price? Yes, to get familiarized with the agreement, because it is a legal document which is a basis for you to receive the rights of ownership. It's very related. If you get any doubts as to whether you are a rightful owner, you need to confirm this right of ownership, and it can only be done if you can see the document of the previous owner. And according to the sale and purchase agreement, the previous owner is your mother. So please tell us, you told us who owned this document. It was the notary, so why didn't you contact him? I will explain. When I received the question from the AGE, I contacted the notary. For a long time, she was on a sick leave, and she said later that she submitted this document to the General Archive, and she no longer had this document. I had 1 week to get these clarifications, and at that time she was on a sick leave. Okay, according to the information received by the AGE, the value of the apartment is 1,329,236, around $50,000. You said that you gave your mother $18,000 in 2021. What was the origin of these funds? The $18,000. Thanks God, the loan was paid off for the previous apartment. So my daughter and I lived in a modest way. We had some savings, and plus I had deposit accounts, and I was getting income from them. So I took this money from the deposit account. Do you have documents that confirm that you took funds from these deposit accounts? Yes. I planned to buy. Did you provide this document to the AGE? I wasn't asked to. I have this agreement of about the deposit. What was the technical condition of the apartment at the time of signing the purchase and sale agreement? The apartment at Sheptytsky Street. Did you or your mother incur any expenses for repairs of the aforementioned apartment? It was just cleaning, no drastic changes. And I have another question which is not related to it. In the declaration for 2022, you declared assets in precious metals, gold and silver, with a total value of 115,000 hryvnias. What is the origin of these assets? Well, the origin of these assets, the assets in the declaration for 2022, I indicated it in the explanation to other questions that my grandfather and father gave me as a gift some funds and valuable things. These were small gifts or the things they bought using their savings and their salaries. Well, your answer is sounds like something hypothetical. I had savings, I had gifts, I lived modestly, but in 2021 you transferred $18,000 to your mother to buy the apartment, and you explained this by having this deposit account, and you gave this money to help your mother to pay for the apartment at Sheptytsky Street. And as to the answer about the declaration of 2022 and the metals, it was acquired earlier, not in 2022. May I answer? I didn't interrupt you. No, I just wanted to specify, but probably by giving your answer you will understand how the origins were, how the assets were formed, and how they correlated to your needs and the satisfaction of your needs for the development of a child, for bringing up the child who was born in 2006. So she required financial investment. Please explain. As to the medals, they were not acquired in 2022. Since I filed a declaration in 2022 for the first time in my life, I indicated the values I acquired before it. Can you please specify one? Before it, we get an impression that it's an ordinary event when you are gifted gold. You should remember. I'm sure you should remember when you're gifted some jewelry or other valuable things. Am I right? Yes, absolutely. So please say, in this year I was given this. How did it look like? How were your assets formed? Please be precise. Well, when my daughter was 16 years old, she got, you or her, both of us, she received one gift when she turned 16, a small gift, and I received a gift when I was 45 years old. And I was 40 years old too. Thank you. I understand. Mr. Alish, that's it from me. Could you please continue asking questions, please?
Sure. I would like to ask the candidate further about her declared income and savings. But before going there, can you explain me what was the profession of your mother and where she actually worked before she retired?
She worked. Can I please ask, since this information is sensitive, or should I say it publicly as you wish?
We can close the streaming for this answer. No problem.
Thank you. I would be grateful. Please turn off the streaming.
20,000 US dollars in cash in your 2022 declaration. Can you explain the origin of these cash holdings in US dollars?
Наталія Васильівна, трансляція відновлена.
The streaming is on. Thank you, Mr. Alish, for the question. I would like to say that I had few places of work, not one, which is reflected in my declaration, and I was working actively for during the last years. Until 2020, I was working in the Academy of Internal Affairs, participating in different international projects, and also working in parallel in other institutions. And since 2020, I was working in the Institute of Legislation of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. And I had several agreements, and I had payments from other higher education institutions of Ukraine. So there were savings.
About 20,000 US dollars savings in cash. And you, in written explanation, you provided advisory group of experts with the answer that this cash originated in the savings of your grandfather and grandmother.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can I please continue? Yes, I started saying that in addition to my many workplaces, I had, before the death of my grandfather in 1995, the grandfather and grandmother, they were living modestly, but they had big savings received from the relatives, and I was lucky. They transferred to me a substantial sum of money before the death of the grandparents, so they transferred me the savings.
What kind of currency these savings were?
They were in pounds.
Pound sterlings.
Yes. 30,000.
Origin of these savings of your grandparents? What job did they hold and where did they live?
I will explain why in this currency, because some close relatives of my grandfather lived in the Great Britain for a long period of time. They immigrated there, and they didn't have their own children. And approximately in 2000, in 1991-1992, they came to Ukraine and gave the sum of money to my grandfather for a house. And he didn't decide to purchase a house or build it. He transferred the savings to us.
This gift you received in 1995, right?
Yes.
How then how this British pounds were converted to dollars, and when? And can you provide any supporting documents?
Well, they were converted partly, not at once, but at several times because we were saving them. It's a quite stable currency, and it has a market cost bigger than the US dollars. So when needed, we would convert it and partly put to the deposit account, but the rest we were saving it to buy later housing and for our other expenses for the family.
In your written answer, also the gold jewelry which was gifted. What about this? What kind of jewelry was, and what was the value of this?
These were gold objects, valuable objects. I cannot give you the precise value because we didn't get any documents following any evaluation. These were just female jewelry.
You sold it.
Partially, we still keep it. One of them was exchanged because this jewelry couldn't be repaired. That's why we exchanged it for other precious things, but all the rest of jewelry is preserved by us.
So when it was exchanged, probably it was assessed the value. Was it?
Well, we just found out what was the weight of it, so how much grams were there in it, but we haven't done evaluation.
Gold.
Так.
Yes.
How much grams it was?
Well, it wasn't big jewelry. I was honest in my mentioning all this jewelry, not to have other questions. I can't give you the precise information. I don't remember, it was a long time ago.
20 років.
More than 20 years ago.
Okay. The next question. In the declaration for 2022, you declared bank account holdings amounting to almost 500,000 Ukrainian hryvnias and 3,000 US dollars in total. Can you explain the origin of these cash holdings?
Thank you, Mr. Alish, for your question. At that time, in 2022, all these funds were allocated. Now, there are no such sums. They are different. These are funds that were accumulated by my father, who in 2012 passed away, and not for one time, so for many times he presented these sums as a gift to me and to my daughter. Through a long period of time he transferred us this money, but most of them we put on the deposit accounts because I raised my daughter. She had to study, to be educated. That's why we didn't spend them. And my father, he was a very modest person. He didn't have any expensive cars or apartment, nothing. So these are all his life savings. He was also in this plant for repair of railway carriages. He was the head of the electric subdivision. I don't remember the precise denomination because he resigned in 1997, so he retired, and then he started to actively work in agriculture. He grew agrarian cultures, and he provided the family with products and so on.
Gave you, you said in a written answer, 15,000 euros, 35,000 US dollars. He gave also 5,000 US dollars to your daughter. And this was everything in the period between 2009 and 2011, correct?
Yes, I would say yes. At first, he didn't transfer all these funds to us, but when he fell ill very seriously, few years before his death, he transferred these funds to us. And he said to us, so he taught us to live in a modest way and to save these sums as he had done it.
And since it was a gift, was this made by the notarial deed between natural persons because it involved the currency holdings, or how you did it?
Well, as legislation doesn't prohibit to give the gifts to daughter or to granddaughter, it was just transferred from hand to hand. Maybe only my mom can confirm it. My father is already passed away.
Father was the one who gave this money.
Так, він
Yes, he did it. In 2009, 2011, in 2012 he died.
And you have also a sister, right?
Так.
Yes.
Her parents provided with gifts only to you or also to her?
Well, frankly speaking, more they gave such gifts to me, because my sister married in a very fast way. She had her family, and yes, mostly these were gifts to myself. They helped my sister in another way. Well, for example, they bought for her furniture for her young family when there was a possibility, and she had a husband, and the family of her husband even more assisted their family than our parents.
So in the declaration for 2022, you declared funds lent to the third person, that is Dimitri Kapanadze. And this was the amount of 15,000 US dollars. Now, what kind of relationship do you have with this person?
Thank you for your question. This is the husband of my sister.
This loan, what confirms the provision of the loan? When was the loan agreement executed, and what is its duration? How much did the borrower repay back to you?
There was no written agreement. We haven't stipulated it. It was oral agreement, as they were in need. They needed money in a very urgent way, and they assured me that my sister had a baby, he worked, and they had plans to move to other country to earn money, and they needed very urgently this money. And he asked, as we have very trustful relationship, they helped us, we helped them, and that's why you see that I indicated that as soon as he had possibility, he repaid this money, so he transfers money in the year 2022, 2023, and there were international bank transfers in a very official way. I presented all this information to the AGE.
So are you saying that he already repaid the whole loan?
Ні.
No, only partially. Not the overall loan, but they promised at their return to give back me all the rest. I trust them. Partially, it was
Половина.
When exactly this loan agreement was agreed? This oral agreement? When?
more or less it was in summer 2022.
You borrowed these $15,000. You kept them in the bank, or you have it in cash?
Partially in cash, partially in bank account.
Okay. In written explanations provided to the advisory group of experts, you indicate that in 2023, so in the period where your sister and her husband actually borrowed and did not pay you the loan back yet, that you received a gift from your sister in the amount of $990 as well as 1,200 euros, as well as they gave you precious metals and coins with an approximate value of 130,000 Ukrainian hryvnias. Meanwhile, in the next round of questions, you indicated that these funds were gifted not only by your sister, but also by your cousin, other sister, and daughter's paternal grandmother. How would you explain the change in the list of persons making gifts to you?
Thank you. I precised this information, clarified it, because not only the husband of my sister, but also my sister transferred me money. I can explain the reason why she gave me in a gift this money, despite the loan that I provided for them. As she is officially employed abroad, so she has official income, and her husband also, and my daughter was to enroll to the university, and it was, just in case if my daughter didn't enroll as state budget for a state budgeted program, these funds were for me to pay the contract for the university of my daughter. As for other gifts from close persons, this was about the fact that my daughter obtained gifts from father's sister, so her aunt and paternal grandmother, so they gave gifts to her and to me for birthday. They asked, what do you want? And they decided to give us in a gift some small coins.
For the moment, I have no further questions for you.
Дякую, пане голово.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there any other questions to the candidate Ms. Kaminska. Mr. Marek Zubik, please.
Mr. Aleś Zale allows me, I would like to ask you two questions.
Yes, please, Marek,
The
do
first,
it.
you explain us that this inside these precious metals and coins, you as a gift in 2023 was the coins. What kinds of coins is the first question, and the second I have with your autobiography. You present us text published in 2022, Development of European Electoral and Referendum Law. Could you explain to us what exactly you mean European Referendum Law? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marek. As for the first question you posed me about the coins, these coins were bank coins from National Bank of Ukraine. They were like for 2 grams, small ones. 5 grams. They are official with certificates. As for the second question posed by you, yes, I have some papers and publications. You see that science for me is my hobby and my work, and this is the article about the development of electoral and referendum standards in the Council of Europe, in the European Union. This is about the fact that there is a need to improve national legislation of Ukraine on the level of constitution included, because in the section 3 we have minimal norms about the referendal and electoral.
Країн ЄС. Пропозиції
Чи є ще
конкретні.
запитання до кандидата?
Are there any other questions to the candidate? If there are no further questions, please, Natalia Vasilievna, before the end of the interview, please take the floor for your closing remark, up to 5 minutes. From the very beginning, I would like to say that I am proud that I am Ukrainian, that I am a citizen of Ukraine, that I started in the best universities of Ukraine and maybe of Europe, that I have been working, and I hope I will work in our Ukrainian authority, establishments and institutions, and I am honored to be involved into teaching of specialists and scientific specialists in different spheres of law, and in such way I favored the development of their constitutional development and culture. And also I am involved in legislation, analytical and expertise activity in Ukraine, and also to the development of public sector. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to the AGE and the Secretariat of the AGE for giving me the opportunity to get involved into the most transparent, open competition for the position of a judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine. And it is a remarkable sign that this is in the period that we should be declared as a candidate for the European Union accession. Also, I would like to say that we should be ready for further victory and post-war recovery. We will be very loaded with the work. We will have a lot of tasks that need to be addressed in a very detailed way, involving scientific circles, society, national, international experts, education, and also alignment of all 3 branches of power. Another factor that we should pay our attention to is the fact that Constitutional Court, and I would like to be a part of this institution, will have new tasks because of Ukraine's accession to the European Union, because of our undertakings on the international arena, and there will be increased needs of analysis and conclusions about ratification of different international contracts, agreements, and there is no doubt that there should be consolidated efforts and alignments in between public sector experts and legislators. Issues about improvement of the constitutional claim establishment, because its implementation witnessed positive changes on the legislative level, but also there are remarkable issues about its implementation. Also, when we talk about the threat to the territorial integrity and peace of Ukraine, it is very important that only people with a high level of integrity work in authorities, with high level of accountability and responsibility. The dream to become a judge of the Constitutional Court judge, this is an ordinary and good phenomenon in any specialist, not only in the peaceful time, but not only in the wartime, but also in the peaceful time after the war. I am politically neutral person, and the science and practice of constitutional law is my direction that I like and I choose. It's not just coincidence, and I try to live fairly, and my members of the family do the same. I also wanted to express my thought why I can be useful. If you believe me that my background will be useful for the functionability of this body, I will favor its transparency, openness for both the Ukrainian society, international experts, and world community. I will enhance judges' accountability in front of the law, in front of Ukrainian society, provision of the supremacy and rule of law, defense of law, the highest European value, liberty and freedoms of Ukraine, absence of discrimination, and the proper functionability of all the legal institutions. Thank you so much, and let's be successful, all of us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Nataliia Vasilyevna. The interview with the candidate for the position of a judge of the Constitutional Suit of Ukraine, Kaminska Nataliia Vasilyevna, is closed. I also would say that the AGE now finishes the row of interview with 28 candidates. This is the stage dedicated to the vetting and check of the high moral standards of the candidates.
Nataliia Vasilyevna, could you please leave the room, giving us the opportunity to deliberate?